Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. I realize it's been a little while since I updated this channel, so I wanted to talk a bit about where I've been and where I am going. And more than that, I want to talk about where we collectively are going. So I announced about 6 months ago that I am a full-time game developer, and more importantly, I announced that I'm a full-time Christian developer, which is still a very rare thing. A really cool thing that happened after I made that announcement video is I've started meeting a lot of other Christian developers who saw the video and jumped in my Discord server, and we started having some really cool conversations. And it was exciting because for the most part, these weren't people who showed up and said, "Hey, I saw your video, you inspired me." They're people who showed up and said, "Hey, I was already on this path, but it's exciting to meet someone else who is doing the same thing that I'm doing." So that's been really exciting. But going full time meant I am suddenly needing to worry about making games that are, financially viable, which is a huge and difficult thing. But I went in and I started learning a whole bunch about video game marketing and all of this different stuff. And first thing I realized is making YouTube videos about my games is not a very good strategy if the goal is to get people to play my games. So that's where I've been. I stepped back from making videos. I've also been considering the future of what I want to do with this channel, if anything. And so I am ready to come back and share my findings. But the first thing, quick update, this is my game, Terminal Bore, and it is a 2D mining game that I put together. So this is a spiritual successor to the Flash game Motherlode. And one of the hard things about making this game is I've realized just how difficult it is. I made this announcement that I'm going to be a Christian video game developer, and then I start making a game, and I go, wow, it's really difficult to add in Christian elements, talk about Jesus through a game when most games are very simple. It turns out this is not an issue of things being incompatible, it's an issue of orthogonality. So, if you're not familiar, in 2D space, you can have lines that either don't cross ever, they're parallel, or they do cross. But in 3D space, you can have lines that just miss each other. They never connect. And that orthogonality has been a problem, I think, for Christians trying to make video games for a long time. Look back at Mario. You have this game where you're running and jumping, and those are your verbs. And then you get to the end, and there's like a one sentence text: "Hey, your princess is in another castle." And there's no story really being told here because the mechanics and the story are disconnected. The story was in the manual for that game. And so if we're going to try to make a game that is something more and that has something to say, we have to figure out how to use this unique artistic medium to say those things. And it's going to look very different. A novel and an artwork, painting, are completely different things. You can't have foreshadowing in a painting. That's not what the medium supports. So figuring out what the medium supports is, I think, work that hasn't been done yet, frankly. And so I've been looking through the history of video games and realizing that there have been these moments where I like to think of them as pillars, but there's been moments where games like Doom come along and they uncover this foundation, this first person shooter formula, which they weren't the first game to discover it, but they were the first major success to use it. And people looked at that and they didn't say, wow, those guys are so smart. They looked at it and said, why didn't I think of that first? Because this idea of having a person with a gun and a camera behind them in that first person perspective, that is a it's like almost a mathematical truth. Like, it's something that we're going to discover eventually. And that game Doom, that was the pillar that found that foundation. But then we've been building on that foundation for years. And so if you're going to try to make a Christian game, starting from the foundation of shooting people in the face is going to be pretty difficult. Like, I'm not saying it's impossible, but I don't think that's the best place to start. And there have been other foundations that we've uncovered. And, in recent years, there's been this whole cozy game revolution. That's a foundation that, looking all the way back in Minecraft, was building on that foundation. But only recently have we been fully uncovering it and going, wow, there's all these games in this category we can make. So I've been asking myself the question, what are the future not yet discovered foundations of Christian gaming specifically? If we're going to make games that have something to say about Jesus Christ, what would that look like? First thing I realized, I think parables are going to be one. And I'm saying this as someone who is, learning and discovering. We're not going to know until we try it. But so specifically, reading in the New Testament, Jesus would go and he'd tell these stories and he'd say, "Hey, the kingdom of the heavens is like," and then he'd tell the story about, "Hey, a farmer threw some seed in a field," and you're like, "Okay, that's not a good story." And he's like, "No, think about it." And the disciples went back and asked him, "What does this story mean?" And he went and he explained, "Yeah, I wasn't talking about farmers and fields. There is something more to this." And so, looking at the precedent already, games like the Five Nights at Freddy's and the whole game theory channel and all those things that have grown out of lore and out of trying to figure out what games are about. I think parables could be an incredible foundation for Christian gaming. So I think there's a lot more of these foundations, but I think it's going to take time to learn and uncover. So I want to start turning the focus of this YouTube channel. Up until this point, frankly, I've been trying to build a brand so I can sell a game when a game goes on Steam. And I finally sat down, did a marketing class, and realized that is the worst possible strategy. So if you want to make a game and you want to actually sell it, I've been doing market research and comparing my game to all these other games that are similar to it. And the cool thing, this looks like a lot. I have 23 rows in the spreadsheet. If you were to go to a game like the Vampire Survivors, there's 200 of these rows. So I'm in this very small niche, and it's an underserved niche I've been discovering because this game, Mining Mechs, was kind of the category leader for a while. And if I go into it, there is this auto-generated YouTube channel for every video game that's made, and you come down and you see, well, how did this game become so successful? There were people who played the game, Let's Play YouTubers. This one had 500,000 views, and so that translated to the success of the game. So that's what I've been doing. I've been working on my demo, trying to get that finished in the next month. I'm going to do a small devlog or two because I can measure that impact of that. I can go look through, okay, here's my wish list count right now, which is the best metric that'll convert to game sales. 40 wish lists means between 2 and 5 people would buy the game. So I'm not very far, but when you see most games, the curve, I mean, it takes time to get moving. And so I'm reaching that point now where I want to start seeing that critical mass go. And so as I am leading up to Steam Next Fest, I want to get the demo out, but I'm going to do a couple of devlogs just to gain a little bit of interest, let you guys know what's up. But I'm mainly going to be focusing on making the game and marketing it through these other channels because it turns out that's the best way to market a game. So as I've been learning to do all that, I've been considering then, what do I do with this channel? And praying through and coming to the conclusion that, it's going to take me time to learn how to make a game that is uniquely Christian, that has something to say, that leaves a mark, on the industry like I want to do. But that doesn't mean I have to wait to talk about Jesus. It doesn't mean I have to wait to, explore theology. I mean, it's something I love doing. I have here doing my own translation of the Bible because, like, I want to learn more. And I'm not doing a translation because I think it's worth other people reading. It's because I want that experience of having done that. So being able to take that and combine theology with game design and to talk about that on this channel, I think that is the most efficient use of my time from a ministry impact perspective. So I'm going to be doing that. And the main things I want to talk about going forward are going to be where this intersection is between faith and games, because I don't think it's always obvious. And I certainly have a lot of questions about where we can go. I'm not coming in as an expert. I'm coming in as a newcomer, but I think it'll be worthwhile to facilitate those discussions and to go, hey, I think parables can be a foundation for Christian games. Has anybody made a game like this? Can we talk about that? In that case, hey, I'm going to be hosting a game jam. So I'm going to announce that soon, but my goal is to do a game jam. I'm thinking in the Easter time frame. So I'd love to do it over the 40 days of Lent. I like the longer form jams because they're less stressful, but if you're like, I would only do a game jam that is 48 hours, let me know, because that's also an interesting bit of feedback to get. But I'm going to be releasing that soon. I'll put up an announcement for that one. But yeah, gonna do a game jam. Let's explore this area together. I also want to go through what is the history of Christian video games. I've been researching that already, and there's not a lot there, but it is really interesting. And then going, what's the future of Christian video games? How do we go where we want to go? And so all of those things I'm going to be doing this year, but I wanted to give an update because it's been like 3 months. But that's where I've been. I've been working on the game. I've been realizing making videos about the game isn't the most useful, but I'm not going to completely quit the channel because there are other videos I can be making. And I really want to start now on being a Christian in the games industry, and doing that through these videos, even as I'm learning to make games that aren't orthogonal to faith, but that can contain some elements of truth, some elements of the gospel. So that's where I'm going with this. But wanted to say thank you for dropping in and watching this video. Happy New Year's, everyone, and I will see you soon with yeah, probably a devlog next, but after that we'll see. Thank you guys. Take care.